and welcome here on LSU Live, here on the Voice of College Football Network. I'm your host, Grant Sashray, one of two co-hosts here on LSU on the Voice of College Football Network. I apologize for those technical difficulties. Right, for some reason, I'm dealing with some Wi-Fi issues. Yesterday, I actually hopped on a podcast, and for some reason, the Wi-Fi just kept going on and off for me. But I think I got it fixed, but not gonna wood. But anyway, we got a big show today. Of course, we're going to talk about LSU's rubber match against Little Rock. I had a recap last night, an immediate reaction. So make sure to check that out if you haven't. But then also we did release a new video discussing the latest updates in recruiting. LSU had a big visit, had a big recruiting day on May 30th to officially kick off recruiting season. Of course, recruiting season usually starts in late May, early July, and there's going to be a few dates in the month of June where they're going to have a whole lot of guys. And there was more than 10 recruits that visited the Ponderosa last Friday. So make sure to check that out. I went into detail who went and some of the reactions to the recruits' reactions to the official visit. So once again, make sure to check that out. But we're going to talk about the rubber match. We're going to talk about Les Miles. Yes, that is a name that we're probably going to mention a whole lot on the show. Of course, we're going to throughout the summer we're going to talk about certain fun topics about LSU football, and Les Miles will be brought up a bunch. But usually, when you bring up Les Miles in LSU circles, not really the most positive. Although I will talk positively about him and why he should be in the Hall of Fame. Of course, the Hall of Fame changed their requirements for head coaches to get in. We'll discuss that, and we'll also discuss we're going to recruiting. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But in the meantime, we're going to play the quick video discussing our latest promotion. And when we come back, we'll dive right into the rubber match tonight. Winner go home game for LSU against Little Rock at 8:00 p.m. Sucks that it's that late, but again, can't do nothing about it.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
Anyway, welcome back. And I really hoped to not do a show that discusses a rubber match, but we are. And it absolutely sucks. But that is the nature of the beast that is college baseball. And there's a lot of LSU fans that are kind of scared right now. Been looking at the Twitter feeds, and rightfully so, right? You're in a rubber match against a team that you should beat, right? But Little Rock beat the brakes off of LSU yesterday. A lot of teams around the country have been upset. Vanderbilt got upset by Wright State. Vanderbilt was the number 1 seed. Texas was the number 2 seed. They got upset by Texas San Antonio. Georgia got upset on a walk-off home run to Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma State may not be Texas San Antonio and Wright State. Oklahoma State has made it to 11 straight postseason appearances. They actually have a kind of a rich history in college baseball, believe it or not. They've actually had a lot of history in that program. But Oklahoma State defeated Georgia on a walk-off home run. Ole Miss is in a rubber match. Tennessee, I believe, is in a rubber match today. There's a lot of teams that have rubber matches today. Teams that you thought would win the regional. But the difference between a lot of the teams I mentioned is that LSU's regional isn't really that tough, right? I mean, if you look at the teams in the regional, I mean, it's actually one of the weaker ones and one of the easier ones. And LSU really lucked out, but LSU is just shooting themselves in the foot. If you look at, I'm actually going to share this with you guys. If you look at who is in one regional, I mean, look. Let me look at this. So Arizona, Oregon, a lot of people thought Oregon should have been a higher seed than it actually was. They were the 12th seed, but they got upset in their regional, so they didn't win their regional. What was it? Tennessee's in a rubber match against Wake Forest. Clemson, who was paired up with LSU in the region in terms of regionals, they got upset, and now West Virginia moves on. Georgia lost against Oklahoma State on a walk-off home run I just mentioned, and Duke will advance to the Super Regionals. I mean, Ole Miss and Murray State are in a rubber match. That game is actually going on right now as we speak. So it's just not the most. So if you're an LSU fan, you have every right to be freaking out because it's shown that teams around the country, some of the top teams around the country have already gotten upset. And Little Rock has won 5. Well, they won all. So they won all the conference tournament. I believe that they won 4. Actually, I have the schedule right here. I believe they've won 4, and so since this is their 5th game, they've won 3. They would have had. Where is their schedule? I actually had it right here. Okay, here we go. So they won 5. So they've won before entering the postseason play. They won their last 5 games of the year. They have won 3 so far in the regional. So they've won 8 of their last 9 games. They're playing some really good baseball, and they're hot. And yeah, forget the record. Look at what they've done in the last 9 games. They won 8 of their last games. The only team that beat them was LSU. And they turned back around. They beat Rhode Island. They upset Dallas Baptist. Then they upset LSU last night. They beat Dallas Baptist and LSU yesterday. And now they have a chance to advance to their first super regional in their program's history. So they're the hotter team right now. I would make a guess they're hotter than LSU right now. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. They've won the conference championship. They actually had to win the conference championship to get there because before entering their conference championship, they had won 12 of their last 13 games. It's not an ideal situation for LSU. And if you look at what LSU does, the biggest reason why LSU lost last night had nothing to do with their hitting. They actually out-hit Little Rock 11-8. They actually had more hits than Little Rock. But the issue is LSU had a lot of walks, and when you walked all those guys, it led to easy bases. And then when Little Rock had a chance to score some runs, that's exactly what they did. As I mentioned yesterday in our show, in the recap show of last night's game, Little Rock went 4 for 4 with runners on third with less than 2 outs. That's crazy. That's an insane stat. So they took advantage every single time they had an opportunity to score runs. And held Cano had 5 RBIs and a home run. And he was batting .236 entering last night's game. So, I mean, they just had their night. And Malcolm Brown, one of the relief pitchers, he pitched the last 5 innings of the game and was highly effective. LSU only got 3 hits off of him in 5 innings. So, I mean, shout out to Little Rock. I mean, they're playing some really good baseball, and they actually have a chance to upset LSU. But really what's kind of, as I mentioned, look at the amount of walks that they had. figure out where the walks are at. Here you go. Look. So if you go to LSU, if you look at LSU stats, they had 11 walks last night. 11. They gave up more walks than they did hits. That's absurd. As a matter of fact, they gave up as many walks as LSU got hits. I mean, LSU, on the other hand, they got walked 4 times. LSU just did a very, very bad job of, throwing strikes, because that's what it is. He's just not throwing enough strikes. And really, if you look, Cooper Williams really in the game. He only allowed 3 hits. He had 4 strikeouts, 3 hits, and allowed 0 runs. He only had 1 walk for 3 innings. Meanwhile, if you look at some of the other guys, Chase Shores allowed 3 walks in 1 inning pitched. Jaden Newton allowed 2 walks in 1.1 innings. Jacob Myers allowed 4 walks in 1.1 innings, right? Your 2 best pitchers were Maverick Rizzi and Cooper Williams, who, by the way, are both freshmen. And I can only imagine now that Cooper Williams will probably be one of the first people you bring out of the bullpen in the near future if LSU were to win tonight, right? You need to find your bullpen guys, and Cooper Williams proved that he could be one of those guys. Shout out to Cooper Williams, but it wasn't enough to put LSU back in this game. And another thing that's really bothering me too is, I didn't really like some of the substitutions they were doing. Jay brought in Josh Pearson to replace Jake Brown. I know Jake Brown was kind of struggling the last couple of games, but I mean, so has Jared Jones. And I'm not saying take Jared Jones out of the game, but I mean, Jake Brown has been hitting the ball decently. He's been hitting the ball decently well in the last few weeks. So I don't know why you would take him out for Josh Pearson. I know Josh Pearson's experience. I know he's made some big time plays in games in the past for LSU, but he really hasn't played that much this year. He really hasn't had much game time. So and despite all the experience, he really hasn't played at all this year compared to Jake Brown. So I don't understand why you made that move. And on top of that, you need to start thinking about putting down Jared Jones in the lineup. Right now, he's been batting in the 2 spot for LSU the last 2 games or so. And if you look at his stats, and I can pull up for you right now, I actually wrote it down. Since May 17th, he has gone 3 for 27 from the plate. That's a 111 batting average. And I get that he's more of a slugger, and I get he's probably going to strike out more than a lot of people. But batting 1 for 11 since May 17th, that's not good, right? Especially when you consider the fact that Chris Stanfield, who has been a much better hitter than Jared Jones the last few weeks, is batting 9th. And I get why it's a strategic thing, right? I get why he's batting 9th. But there are much better hitters in LSU's lineup that are hitting the ball better than Jared Jones. It's just really unfortunate. I mean, Hunter Dixon's batting after Jared Jones. He has he's been hitting the ball really well in the regional. He was a big reason why LSU won game 1. He was responsible for for 3 of their runs and game 1 of the regional. When LSU beat Little Rock 7-0 in game 1. Jake Brown's batting. I really think Jared Jones would be batting 5th, right? I'm not saying to put him at the bottom of the lineup, but you have to keep him kind of near the top because he's your best home run hitter. He's hit 19 home runs throughout the season. I believe he also has the most home runs, not the most home runs but the most RBIs on the team. He has 67 RBIs, which is the most on the team. So he still should be near the top of the lineup, but I think he should be right in the middle, probably like 4th or 5th. Because right now he is struggling to hit the baseball. Like I said, 3 for 27 from the plate. But also another big issue, though, it's not just hitting the ball. It's also getting on base. In his last 29 appearances at the plate, He's only reached first base safely 5 times. That is an on-base percentage of 172. That's also really bad. That is horrifically bad. And really, I think on-base percentage really actually might be the most important stat in terms of baseball. That's how a lot of MLB teams will determine who they should pick up at free agency and trades and drafting is based off of on-base percentage. And that, of course, it started with Moneyball, and that's how they were winning with, back then when the A's really didn't have that much money, that how they built the best team possible was through on-base percentage. Now, the A's are using that as an excuse to, be act like the cheapest team in MLB, but this is not an MLB show. This is the LSU sports show, but it's just not a good situation overall for LSU because now your best run creator, not run creator, but your best guy who brings in the runs is struggling not only to hit the ball, but to get on base. And a lot of people gave Chris Stanfield a lot of slack throughout the season, but Chris Stanfield was your best hitter throughout SEC play, and he got on base. He's not going to bring in the runs. His job is to get on base and create runs, and that's why Chris Stanfield, in my opinion, has been one of the more important players in LSU's team. To create runs, but he also is a great defender as well. Derek Carriall, kind of the same mold, although Derek Carriall has a little bit more of is a better hitter than Chris Stanfield, just given the fact that he can hit with a little bit more power, and he's also driven in more runs than Chris Stanfield. Derek Carriall's driven in 47 RBIs, while Chris Stanfield has driven in 24. But Chris Stanfield is a great, has been he's kind of been an underrated pickup through the transfer portal, in my opinion. One of the more underrated ones just because of his abilities. But yeah, LSU has to win tonight. If there's 3 keys I have for LSU to win this game tonight, it's pretty simple. Keep hitting the ball, right? They've actually been very good hitting the ball throughout the regional. In all 3 games LSU has played, they've had 10 or more hits. That's really good considering the fact that LSU has been really struggling the past few weeks in terms of hitting the baseball, which is one of which is easily the most fundamental thing in baseball by far. So keep up the work at the plate, stay aggressive, keep hitting the ball. This is not a home run hitting team, right? By any stretch. I mean, look at the stats. That's show it. However, they can hit the baseball, and if they stay aggressive, that'll pay dividends, especially when it's shown that right now Little Rock is hitting the baseball really well, despite them being somewhat of a lackluster hitting team. They really weren't a very good hitting team going into the regional, but they've been really hot the last 2 weeks, going back to the start of their conference tournament, which they won. And then also in the region. So you have to keep up the pace at the plate because right now Little Rock is really dangerous. The second key is to third strikes, right? Third strikes. Part of the biggest reason why Little Rock was able to score so much runs is because a lot of guys were able to get a free base because they got walked. And so and that led to the base getting loaded multiple times. It led to runners to score in position multiple times. And while Little Rock got less hits than LSU, their hits meant more because off their 8 hits, they were able to produce 10 runs. So the throw strikes, you have to throw strikes. And I'll say number 3, too, is to have Kason Evans pitch for as long as possible, as he possibly can. Now, if you're struggling, obviously you have to take him out the game and put Jacob Count, right? But you have to. But Kason Evans has shown that he can be a very good pitcher, and he's been highly productive for LSU, right? LSU hasn't really had a day 3 starter for most of the year, but Kason Evans really stepped up huge in that role, and he's been a huge contributor to LSU's pitching staff, and really could be the ace of the future for LSU. But not Jacob Cohen, Zach Cohen. I don't know why I said Jacob, Zach Cohen. But yeah, and then because if you could get Casey Evans to pitch for 5-6 innings, that could bring in Zach Cohen, who, by the way, can also, even if Casey Evans only goes for like 3 innings, Zach Cohen can finish off the game because Zach Cohen was the Friday night guy for Wofford last year when LSU played him. So he can stretch the game for long periods of time. But it's great that you basically have 2 starting pitchers on day 3 for LSU, although this is more of a day 4. And really, those 2 guys should have pitched last night. But I get what Jay was trying to do. He just didn't expect some of the guys that he brought out to struggle as much as he did. But it was good to see Cooper Williams really step up in a huge role. And I think if LSU does win this game tonight, he will be a key bullpen guy moving forward because despite not only just in the Super Regional, but especially in Omaha, where you need to have a deep bullpen. One of the biggest reasons why LSU was able to win in 2023 was because their bullpen got better as the season went on, and they were able, for example, Nate Agenhausen was the starting pitcher against Tennessee in the elimination game. He pitched probably 5 or 6 innings, and that was huge for LSU because you're able to save some of your bullpen guys later down the road. But yeah, those are my 3 keys of the game. It's not looking really good for LSU, but the good thing is that you have 2 fantastic pitchers for LSU on the mound tonight, while Little Rock kind of went through a good bit of their pitch staff because they played in 5 games. They're going to play their 5th game tonight and also their 10th game in the last 2 weeks. So who knows? I think their arms should be really tired, but LSU has to do their job not only at the plate, which they've done a really good job throughout the regional, but they have to do their job on the mound as well. But moving on, leaving baseball right now, let's talk about Les Miles. Yes, we're talking about Les Miles. And the reason why I'm bringing up Les Miles is because Les Miles, he received some great news, right? For him, at least. So, if you guys are not familiar, the people who run the Hall of Fame, I believe it's the National Football Foundation, they changed the rules. Well, they changed the requirements for a head coach, right? It used to be one of the requirements that used to be inducted in the Hall of Fame was that you needed to have a 600 winning percentage, right? You would have to win 60% of your games. And that was actually one of the biggest reasons why Mike Leach didn't get in the Hall of Fame. And when Mike Leach died, there was calls for the Hall of Fame committee to change the requirements because I think he fell at like 599. Like he was just outside of 600. And it's not Mike Leach's fault that he fell out of that requirement because he literally died right smack in the middle of his head coaching career. He died of a sudden heart attack. And his winning percentage was right at, let me get the exact winning percentage here. But it fell just outside of the 600, the 60% winning percentage mark. And he won 158 games to 106. And if I'm doing the math here, 158 divided by 264, he won 59.8% of his games. So he fell just right outside the benchmark. However, the committee changed it to 595, which allowed him to get into, now he's eligible to be into the Hall of Fame. And I think that will happen, not this year because they already released the names for who's getting in and he wasn't part of it, but it's going to be happening, I believe, next year. He should, because he's one of the most influential coaches of all time. The amount of guys who were part of his career that went on to become head coaches is absolutely insane. Lincoln Riley, Dana Olsen, the list goes on. Cliff Kingsbury, like the list goes on. He's one of the most influential coaches of all time. And it's not even just the amount of games he won or what he did at different places, State and Mississippi State. Those are all programs where he made very national prominence, right? Especially like a school like Washington State, right? Where before he got there, they were garbage. They were a team that, for example, my dad coached at both Arizona and Cal. And whenever you saw Washington State, you're like, check, because it was almost a guaranteed win. They are what Vandy is to the SEC is what Washington State was to the Pac-10 and Pac-12. They were an absolute joke of a program. Like, program around Vandy for the first time in the program's history, and that's a big deal for them because remember, they had a group of Washington State fans that always fly a Washington State flag at every single college game day location. So it was a big deal for Washington State. But how come that is? But how come? What does that have to do with Les Miles? Well, Les Miles is also kind of in that same category, right? He had a lot of wins taken away because of some recruiting violations at LSU. And when those wins got taken away, he actually fell under the 60% win mark. And if you look at his record now, without the sanctions, his record was 142 and 55. And if you look at that winning percentage, that is a 72% winning percentage. However, if you take away those wins, it's his record 105 and 55. And so doing the math right here, 105 divided by 160, he would have a 65% winning percentage. So hold on, that's not right. Because so doesn't matter. But I think I did the math wrong. That's why I'm a journalism major, not a math major. But his overall record, it fell out of it made him, out of contention for the get inducted into the Hall of Fame. And now, because of the requirement change, he is now eligible to become to get inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Actually, here's his actual record. It was 173 combinations of State shooters. 108 plus 73, 181, 108 divided by 181, 59.6. So he is eligible, right? The mark now is 595. He's now at 596. So he just made it. And look, there's probably gonna be some backlash from LSU fans, like, oh, he didn't deserve to get in the Hall of Fame. He got lucky. He won with all the safest players, and blah blah blah. And look, a lot of that is true, right? I still think that yes, Les Miles win a lot of games with some of Nick Saban's players. That is true. However, he won. Yeah, I mean, he look at his resume alone, right? So that is huge stuff. You have to factor in. I'm not gonna. But when he got to it was very in one of the in the gates. He over there with each one for struggling, and he actually the struggle of Oklahoma. Now it's the first win they had in the bed robbery in a little while. But he led the Cowboys to 3 straight bowl games from 2002 to 2004, and he also had 2 wins versus Oklahoma. He actually finished 500 against Oklahoma, right? I mean, how many coaches in Oklahoma State's history went 500 against Oklahoma? Also in that very 4-year stint in Oklahoma State. There aren't many, because if you look at the series rivalry record between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, Oklahoma murders Oklahoma State. mean, if you look at the record, I'm actually going to pull up the record right now. I remember it was a ridiculous amount of. I mean, the margin is really wide, but the official record is uh, oh my God. It's a lot of margin. It really is. Um, 91 wins, 91, 19, and 7. That is the Oklahoma has won 90 times compared to Oklahoma's 19. Oklahoma State's 19, and there's 7 draws. I mean, it's a wide margin. So that's actually fairly significant accomplishment that Les Miles had at Oklahoma State. And then after he left Oklahoma State, he got hired at LSU, and he had a 114-134 record. That's without considering the violations he broke, which reduces record to 77 and 34. But the unofficial, without the violations, 114 to 34. Right, that's his overall record. He had an 8-4 bowl game record at LSU. He won the 2007 national championship. He had 2 SEC title wins, 3 SEC West titles in 05, 2007, 2011. He had multiple 10-plus win seasons. His first 3 years, he won 10 or more games, and they also they produced a lot of NFL players. Right? I mean, LSU became an NFL factory. Of course, it started with Saban, but all the players you can name today were coached under Les Miles. Jamarcus Russell was the number 1 overall pick. Now he's the biggest NFL bust of all time, but number 1 overall draft pick. Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Leonard Fournette. I mean, who else? Kyle Williams, who's now the defensive line coach at LSU now. I mean, the list goes Daniel Williams, Jamal Adams, Devin White. I mean, the list goes on. All those guys were not only recruited, but also played under Les Miles. It's Tre'Davious White. I mean, the list goes on. All those guys who are either in the NFL right now or were in the NFL the last 10, 50 years were coached by Les Miles. And like, I understand that you may have criticism about how he ran his offense after 2007. I know, of course, he put LSU into a lot of trouble because of the whole sexual harassment violations that were brought against not only the football program but the whole athletic department as a whole. I get that, but if you look at his on the field resume, he's in. It's not even close. I know a lot of LSU fans don't want to hear that at times, and I get it. But he's a Hall of Fame coach. That's what it is. And when he gets in the Hall of Fame, because Saban's going to get in the Hall of Fame, so that's one. And LSU, I think that he will be the 3rd football coach from LSU that got inducted into the Hall of Fame. There might be a little bit more. There might be as many as 5 actually, but I gotta double check that. But LSU he'll be the 3rd coach to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame from LSU. So I mean, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, the amount of guys he produced that ended up being in the NFL is absolutely ridiculous, let alone all of his accomplishments on the field. And really, even before, I mean, in my opinion, if he actually had a modern day offense, he would probably still would have been the head coach at LSU for another 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's without a doubt. And I'm actually going to look this up to see. So he would be 1, 2, 3. Oh wow, he'd be the sixth coach to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. And then, of course, you got to add in Nick Saban as well, because you got Charlie Mack, Bernie Moore, Biff Jones, Iron Mike Donahue, Michael Iron Mike Donahue, and Dana X5, right? But he of those coaches I just named, he actually has the longest tenure outside. Well, Bernie Moore actually has Charlie Mack and Bernie Moore have a little bit longer tenures than Les Miles, but I mean, he has something those two don't, which is a national championship. So he's in the Hall of Fame, and he should be. But anyway, moving on from that topic, let's discuss a little recruiting, shall we? And we already discussed all the visitors for June 30th. All right. That video is already up. Make sure to go check that out. Please do, because there's a lot of great information in there. And LSU had some big time visits going from 5-star offensive tackle Emmanuel Eincho. So make sure to go check that out. But now we're going to discuss some recruiting tidbits because LSU will have another official visit day, and that will be on June 6th, and that will be, I believe that will be on Friday. Friday. And there's not as many as there were last Friday, but there's still three recruits there that are heavily interested in LSU. 2 4-stars, 1 3-star. But these are 3 guys that LSU is heavily interested. If they weren't, they wouldn't be visiting campus right now on an official visit. And really, because there's only 3, that means the coach will have a little bit more one-on-one time with each individual recruit. So let's get to it. So the first one I want to bring up is 4-star tight end Israel Briggs. Israel Briggs is from the great state of California, Redwood High School in Visalia, California. He is a 4-star recruit. If you look at his On3 industry ranking, and as we mentioned, that is the average ranking across the Big 4, which is On3, 24/7, ESPN, and Rivals. He is the 129th rated prospect in the country. He's a top 10 tight end, 8th nationally to be exact, and he's the 15th highest rated recruit from the state of California, and that's a pretty big deal. And like being 15th in California will be like being top 10 in Louisiana, just because of the amount of people in the state of California. Is the most populous state in the union. And the site that gives him the highest ranking is 24/7, which marks him 71st nationally. He's the 6th highest rated tight end in the country, and he's the 11th highest prospect in the state of California. So far, he got offered by a lot of different schools, a lot of SEC schools, as you see right here: Alabama, Texas A&M. Got an offer from Miami. I believe he was committed to Arizona State for a little bit before he decommitted. But Oregon, Auburn, Ole Miss, Washington, Michigan, Florida State, SMU, Florida, Nebraska. I mean, the list goes on. And yes, LSU has. I don't think they have offered him yet, but for him to be taking an official visit, if he hasn't got an offer, he definitely will. I got to double check to make sure, because sometimes the sites so they might forget to update their who offered who. But once again, Israel Briggs is another guy that LSU is after. And look, and I've said this before about the tight end position, right? We all know Brian Kelly wants to build his teams around tight ends, right? We've discussed on the show that he likes to use 2 tight end sets. This year, you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets with Trey Green, and Bauer Sharp. Because they're both elite tight ends. Trey Green was one of the breakout stars for LSU last year. And then also Bauer Sharp was the leading receiver for Oklahoma the year before. And so you got two really good tight ends. Straight Edge Green's more of a receiver than say Bauer Sharp, but you both can use them for their skill sets. All right, Bauer Sharp's more of a traditional tight end who can also catch the ball really well, and of course, Straight Edge Green is a freak. He also played a lot of significant minutes for the basketball team. All right, you can see here he's a pretty nifty dude for being 6'5" and 6'5" and 220. Right, he's listed 205, but he's going to gain some weight because he's a tight end. But he is lined up out wide, and really people forget too. That's where Trey Edge Green was. Trey Edge Green lined up out wide. He barely put his hand in the dirt when he was at Zachary High School. Right, they just lined up wide, and it's like, all right, hey, we're going to throw the ball deep to you. You're taller than everybody on the field, and we expect you to make the play. And that's exactly what he did. But Israel Briggs, and as you can tell, probably has a very similar skill set to Trey Edge Green, and also has the same number as Trey Edge Green. But you can see the speed right there. I mean, he outran, three guys. I mean, ran right between them too. So he's a very athletic kid. Can play out wide, but he will be a tight end by the time he gets to college, and as somebody that LSU really wants. I mean, like I said, Brian Kelly wants to build a team with tight ends. I mean, just going back to Cincinnati, right? He recruited Travis Kelce, go to Notre Dame. Look how many times a tight end was an All-American at Notre Dame. I mean, now at LSU, he's continuing with the tradition. Mason Taylor was a 3-star recruit in high school. Now he's the leading receiver among in the tight end position in LSU history. He's an all-time leader in touchdown catches, receiving yards at LSU at the end. So we know Brian Kelly heavily invested in building LSU. We've seen how big the tight end has grown. I mean, before he got here, the only tight end you had was really Cole Taylor. Now you have as many as 3-4 tight ends in your tight end room at the same time. He's probably more receiving. He looks more like I know he's gonna play tight end, but it's like, damn, he could be an excellent possession receiver as well. I mean, he looks like a receiver, but it looks like he's gonna get some way to be a tight end. I mean, that's where he's getting recruited at. But anyway, on to the next guy, and that is KJ Edwards. KJ Edwards is a 4-star running back from the state of Texas, from Carthage High School, which is one of the top programs in the state of Texas right now. He is, if you look at his On3 industry ranking, 45th nationally, the 4th best running back in the country, and the 6th best prospect out of the state of Texas. So he is a blue chip recruit, right? If you're top 10 in the state of Texas, you're top 5 running back nationally, that is a blue chip recruit, in my opinion, right? And I think that's what it is, but I'm just telling you my opinion. The best ranking that he's given out of the big 4 sites is by On3, 38th nationally, the 3rd best running back in the country, and the number 3 player in the state of Texas. Right after that, 24/7 Rivals have very similar rankings, right? 24/7 and Rivals have as the 47th and 48th best recruit. The number 2 running back nationally, and they both have him as a top 10 running back. 24/7 has him as the 5th best running back, 5th best player in the state of Texas. Rivals 6th best player in the state of Texas. Right now, Texas looks like he might be the favorite. Of course, Texas has done a really good job at keeping some of the best players in the state, which is something they've actually struggled with in the past. I mean, Tom Herman kind of flipped the script a little bit, but Steve Sarkisian absolutely finished building that wall. It looks like it would be hard to get some of the best recruits from the state of Texas. And not only that, because of his aggressive recruiting style, but also Texas has the bag. They really do. And if you look at some of this junior house, 7 minutes long, but over 2,000 all-purpose yards, 143 carries, nearly 800 yards of rushing. And I mean, he's 5'10", 180, but he can run downhill. As you saw, he broke a lot of tackles in the middle of the field. It was basically in the pile, and he broke out of it for a long touchdown run. I mean, if you look at it, Carthage runs a kind of more of a pro style. The quarterback's under the center, and he it's kind of like Caden Durham in a sense, right? Caden Durham is, is kind of an Eastern West runner, but he can break tackles. He's the ability to break tackles, and that's something. He has. Look, you say he has. Look at him. He has elite speed. He can break tackles. He can run north south, east west. It doesn't matter. You saw right there. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's Caden Durham. I mean, they're both very similar stats, right? Caden Durham is around the same size, 5'9", 200. KJ Edwards is 5'10", 180, 185. But very similar skill sets. They both have great speed. They both can break tackles, and they can both run between the trenches. They can run inside the trenches and without any hesitation whatsoever. So LSU's really trying to the running back room. That running back room really has been one of the strongest positions on LSU's roster. Can't really say back room because outside Caden Durham, they barely got any production out of their room. That's really the next step for LSU is to keep building that running back room because the quarterback room set the offensive line, although they had to replace 4 of the top 5 offensive linemen from last year. The offensive line room is in a much better situation than when Brian Kelly took over. Tight ends, we just talked about that. And of course, we all know that you're always going to have abundance of receivers when you're at the Louisiana State University. But that's KJ Edwards. He'll be visiting this Friday at the Ponderosa, and hopefully LSU can make a big impression because LSU needs as many. Oh, what a play! Oh man, well that was a blindside block, but what a play! Still up. But that guy. I mean, he looks like he could be a stud. Hopefully LSU can get him, but right now it looks like Texas in the running, but LSU can make a big impression on the 4-star running back from the state of Texas. The next guy we're going to talk about here, and this is the third and final visitor that I know of, right? There could be some more along the way, but this is the guys that I know for a fact are visiting. You have J.J. Finch. J.J. Finch is a 6'3", 260-pound defensive lineman from the state of Indiana. He went to Warren Central High School in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is actually the same high school that Damian Shanklin went to. Damian Shanklin was a part of the last recruiting class of 2025. He enrolled early during the spring at LSU, and he actually was getting some reps with the second team. So he could be a guy that could get some could possibly be in the rotation this season. He impressed the coaches a lot during the spring. So there's a connection right there for LSU. They're trying to that, but he's a 3-star defensive lineman. And look, I don't like to really pay attention to rank. Look, yes, stars matter to an extent, but to me, what matters more is who is offered him, right? LSU is the favorite right now, actually, right? And that has a lot to do with the fact that they have one of his former teammates on the team currently. Damian Shanklin was his teammate at Warren Central. But LSU's already offered him Alabama, Miami, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Michigan, Florida, Louisville, Ohio State, Penn State, Washington, Oklahoma. Like, those are all big-time Power 4 programs. So, yes, he is a 3-star, but look at the schools that they just offered kids like that out of nowhere because they think he's a really good player and they think he'd be a key team just based off of Washington play. And this guy, I mean, he could play on the edge. He could also play on the inside. He's a lot like Ahmad Bro, where Ahmad Bro was, he could play off the edge, but he could also play on the inside. You saw there he bull rushed from the middle, and he made an excellent sack. He basically bowled him and pushed him down. Look at that. I mean, he plays with a lot of force, uses his hands very well. You see the technique there. He's excellent at the bull rush. We saw 2 plays where he just absolutely blew up the defensive line. He's kind of like a hybrid. He can play in the middle. He can also be an effective guy outside the edge. And he's just made an interception right there, actually, dropping back. But you can tell he's a very versatile guy. a lot like Ahmad Bro. Ahmad Bro was a very versatile guy at Russ in high school. He could play on the inside and the outside. He was listed as a defensive end, but you could kind of tell LSU wanted to move him to defensive tackle, and that's exactly what he did. And he had a lot of success. He started like the last half of the games for LSU, right? And he gained 30 to 40 pounds, became a defensive tackle, and became a force on the inside. And I expect him to have a big year for LSU as his former defense coordinator and assistant coach at Ruston is now his defense line coach at LSU, and that is Kyle Williams. But yeah, like he's very versatile, he's very athletic. He's like I said, 6'3", 260, can play on the inside and he can play on the edge. Great pass rusher, but also is an effective run stopper as well. And you could tell, like, he looks built. He doesn't I don't think he has any fat on his body whatsoever. He looks like a defensive end, but he's 6'3", 260, and he could get a little bit bigger as well. That's going to wrap today's show. Thanks for hopping on. And if you like this video, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and then also make sure to click on the bell for notifications in case whenever we release a live video or release a video, because there's going to be a lot of recruiting updates in the next 2 months because the recruiting season has officially kicked off. This during the summer is one of the busiest times for recruiting just because everybody's off. So this is probably the best time where they can get players on campus, they can contact them, you name it. So there's going to be a lot of updates for recruiting. Also, SC Media Days is a month away. There's a lot of stuff that will be going on. So make sure to check that out. If you're watching Instagram, yes, we're gonna go live every Monday, and also let you know live show on another day that's not Monday. But also make sure to go on YouTube and subscribe to LSU at the Voice of College Football Network. And then also if you're watching on Twitter, do the same thing. Follow me. My Twitter is right there on the bottom at Sasha Grant. And then also make sure to go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. So let you know whenever we release a new video, or we're going to have a live video coming up. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and go Tigers.